Good morning, good afternoon, and a huge welcome to wherever you are around the world. And welcome to today's final session of day one of the LLM Festival, which has been brought to you by many different law schools from around the USA, which this is just day one, part of a 3-day festival. I'm with you today with the University of San Diego School of Law. They're going to be going through all the various different information as to why you should come and study in San Diego, the benefits of studying in California, and most importantly, the reasons why you should come and study an LLM at their law school. You'll see on the screen already some of the great reasons. Robin will be going through that. A reminder that this is a live session. If you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A facility, or if you're watching on social media, which I know many of you are, please just include on the messenger or email me at gareth@postgradsolutions.com and we'll get your question answered. All your details have been shared with Robin, so they will be reaching out to you within the coming days. So if you have any problems or concerns or questions relating to anything around this session, please let them know then. But without holding back too much longer, Robin, I'd like to hand over to you and we'll see you for the Q&A at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth, for that lovely introduction, and welcome to everyone to this virtual LLM Festival. As Gareth mentioned, my name is Robin Alveri, and I'm the Assistant Director for Graduate and International Programs here at the School of Law. So you'll see on the screen my contact information, personal email down in the bottom right corner, as well as a nice view of campus. So from what you can see, we are situated right along the Pacific Ocean. So that's one of the views you can see when you are here with us in lovely Southern California. And I just wanted to start off by giving you a few fast facts or maybe fun facts about the university. We are a Catholic private university, one of 3 universities in the San Diego area, but the only university that has a law school. And the overall student population here at USD is close to about 9,000 students, and that includes undergraduate as well as graduate students. So we're considered a small to mid-sized university. And the School of Law itself has been around for quite a long time. It was established back in 1954. And the School of Law educates around 800 students each year. The bulk of those would be JD students pursuing the professional law degree. And we also have LLM students who are generally attorneys who are coming back to school for some more specialized legal education. But they may also be international LLM students who are looking to gain a better understanding of the US common law system, perhaps pursue a concentration, or even study and sit for a bar exam here in the United States. So here at the School of Law, you'll see we have many programs offered. The one that you may have heard of before is our JD or Juris Doctor program. But in my office, we cover all other programs besides JD. So that includes 6 LLM programs, as well as a Master of Science of Legal Studies for non-attorneys. And down below, you'll see a variety of LLM programs listed. So it starts all the way from the LLM in business and corporate law, down through an LLM in taxation. And then we have a general LLM with concentration as well. Towards the middle of the list, I'm excited to announce that we've launched an online LLM in Spanish program this summer. And so that is targeted for Latin America and Spanish-speaking attorneys who would like to get an LLM degree from the comfort of their own home. But the one that we'll be focusing on today is the second one that's listed. It's the LLM in comparative law, because that's the one that would be most relevant for prospective students in this audience. And it's designed especially for international law graduates. So students whose law degrees are from outside of the United States. Okay, so just a little roadmap or agenda of what I'll be covering today before we go to questions is the LLM program itself. Which one should you choose and why, along with its degree requirements, and a little bit about the curriculum that the program offers. And then we'll go talk about some questions that I hear commonly from prospective students. The first deals with eligibility to sit for a bar exam, whether that's in California or New York or perhaps another state within the United States. And then we'll take a look at employment options for LLM students, and that can be during the LLM program or post-degree. And then finally, some questions dealing with the application process and funding. So things like scholarships, what you need to include in your application package, and things of that nature. Okay, so let's just start by taking a look first at which LLM program we would recommend for students educated outside the US. and that would be our LLM in Comparative Law program. Here you'll see a shot of the front of the School of Law, which is called Warren Hall on campus. And don't let the title Comparative Law confuse you. It's not meant to suggest that you need to study comparative law. The name just reflects the international character of our student body and the different legal systems that they come from. So that's why it's called the LLM in Comparative Law. And this is the one that we would recommend for probably 95% of applicants coming from outside of the US. Well, why is that? Well, first of all, it has the most flexible curriculum of all of our LLM programs. So it's 25 degrees total. And to complete the degree in good standing, you would need to keep a cumulative grade point average of at least a 2.0. And for those of you used to letter grades, that equates to about a C average. And there are only 2 required courses in this program. So they are 2 credits each, and you'll see them listed here. The first is called Intro to US Law, which gives a comprehensive overview of the US common law legal system. And then the second course is called Legal Writing and Research, and that's also 2 credits. And this is where students will learn the different writing techniques and research techniques used by attorneys here in the United States. And that includes getting familiar with systems such as Lexis and Westlaw. So besides these 2 required courses, you have many elective credits, a total of 21. So you can use those 21 credits towards a possible concentration, or you may want to take a look at some bar exam courses, or you may just want to take a variety of different legal subjects. So 21 elective credits and 4 required credits. So that makes a total of 25. Okay, just one thing to keep in mind with those elective credits, one of the courses you choose should involve writing a paper, so a research paper of some sort. So most students would like to pick a topic, pick a class that's in their area of interest if they're going to write about it. Contract drafting is a popular choice here, but there are many other paper courses available to fulfill that writing requirement. Okay, as I just mentioned a moment ago, many students prefer to focus on a specific concentration within the LLM and Comparative Law program. And so the 6 that you see listed here are by far the most popular areas to concentrate on. So business and corporate law, criminal law, environmental and energy law, intellectual property, international law, and taxation. Now, these are optional. I just want to stress that again. So students are not required to pursue a concentration. However, they are more than welcome to do so. And to earn the concentration, you need to make sure that you take at least 10 credits out of the total 25 program credits in your area of concentration. So for example, if you'd like to focus on business and corporate law, you would need to take at least 10 courses in the LLM program that focus on some aspect of business and corporate law. So again, out of the 25 total program credits, at least 10, but you can take more, right? At least 10 would need to be in that area of concentration. And if a student earns the concentration, they receive some extra documents in addition to the LLM degree or the diploma. They would get a certificate of concentration, noting, for example, that they concentrated in intellectual property. And they would also receive a transcript notation on their official USD transcript. So it would indicate that the student had earned a concentration in a particular area. So this is for students who really have a certain area of law. They know what they want to do coming in, and perhaps they already practice in the area in their home country, but they would like to focus on it from a US perspective. And here's another shot of campus you can see with a student kind of meditating in the gardens, looking out at the ocean. So interspersed throughout the slides, you'll see some shots of campus and also San Diego. Okay. So instead of an academic concentration, quite a few students would like to focus on sitting for a bar exam. So the most popular bar exam states are listed here. They would be California and New York. And I just wanted to give you a sense of the subjects that are tested on each bar exam. Now, they're very similar, but you might notice, for example, for the California bar exam, it has a few subjects that are not covered in New York and vice versa. So for example, for California, civil procedure, both federal and the state of California, civil procedure is tested on the exam, an area of law called community property, Over on the right side, professional responsibility, a very important course, and then remedies. So different legal remedies that parties may seek, whether it's money damages or some type of action or an injunction that they might be seeking. And then in New York, some of the unique subjects that are not tested in California. Article 9 of the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code. We have conflict of laws. And then on the right side, family law, which is not tested in California. So overall, between those two states, you would see 12, maybe 13 subjects that are tested on the bar exams of those respective states. So this is not an exhaustive list, of course. Some students end up wanting to sit for, let's say, the Texas bar or the DC bar or the Illinois bar, or some other state. So I just put these two here because they represent the most popular choices for our international LLM students. So how do you qualify to sit for a bar exam? That's a really common question that I hear from students. And it's good to know that many states in the US do allow international LLM graduates to sit for a bar exam. So more than half, I would say, when I did the most kind of recent polling or check just to see which states allow the international graduates to sit. And each of the 50 states plus DC, the District of Columbia, have their own bar jurisdiction. So it's important that students check directly with the state that they are interested in sitting for the bar exam to confirm their eligibility. So they will have their own separate bar admission requirements and their bar exam format. And because of the nature of the LLM program, right, it's only 25 credits. Students can take some, but obviously not all of the subjects tested on the state bar exams. There's simply just not enough room to pack, let's say, 12 to 13 bar exam subjects into an LLM program, which is typically 1 year in length. So next, I'd like to look more specifically at California. And there is a website I'm happy to share with the participants later on what a foreign educated attorney needs to do or needs to know for sitting for the California bar exam. It's a very helpful website, and that is from the State Bar of California office. And again, in my communications with students, I will put them in touch with the State Bar of California office if they're thinking of taking this bar exam, because you need to get some information directly from that office before you plan your LLM curriculum. And the students break down into two different categories as far as bar eligibility. First, you would have attorneys who are already admitted to the active practice of law in their home country. And in those cases, most of the time, the State Bar of California office would tell you, oh, you don't actually need any extra legal education. You don't need to do an American JD program. You don't even need to do an LLM program. In other words, you can pay the fee and register and sit for the bar exam, study hard, and hopefully you pass. Okay, so that's what a prospective bar taker might hear in a letter from the State Bar of California office. However, on the other hand, attorneys who are not admitted to the active practice of law, they're not yet a member of their, let's say, their state or regional bar in the home country, typically they would get a letter from the State Bar office saying, well, we need you to do at least 1 year of law study within an ABA accredited law school. So that means a law school accredited by the American Bar Association. And if you're doing an LLM program, make sure it has at least 20 credits minimum. So for example, the LLM in comparative law is 25 credits, so you would be covered there. And also make sure that you take at least 4 bar exam subjects, a minimum of 4, and make sure one of those includes professional responsibility. So you might be able to fit in 5 bar subjects typically, but you would need to take at least 4 and include professional responsibility. I think I mentioned a few moments ago, PR, professional responsibility, is a very important subject on the California State Bar, and it crosses over into many areas of law. So questions can pop up related to PR, whether it's a multiple choice question or something that comes up in an essay type question. Okay, so that's just kind of a nutshell view of what you could expect if you were looking to sit for the bar exam in California. Now, New York is probably our second most popular bar exam for international students. And here I've summarized what most internationally educated attorneys would need to do or need to take in order to sit for the bar exam. Let's assume they're in an LLM program. And first of all, they would need to take professional responsibility, at least two credits. Most of the time, those courses would be at least 3 credits, so that's fine. And take at least 2 credits in legal research and writing, which we offer here. That's one of the required courses in our LLM program. An additional 2 credits in American law, which is covered by our required Intro to U.S. Law course that I mentioned near the beginning. And finally, take at least 6 credits, in subjects that are tested on the state bar exam. So I've listed them again below, just as a review. So you would need to take probably at least 2 of those courses minimum or more in order to be eligible to sit for the New York bar exam. Okay, so we have an academic advisor here that works with all of our LLM students to help make sure that they are planning their curriculum accordingly if they're looking to sit for a bar exam. Okay, other students are interested in employment, and that could be while they're here as a student on campus. Sometimes while they're a student off campus, they may seek work permission. And finally, there are some post-degree options available for international students. So I've kind of geared this, so I'm looking at a hypothetical international student. If you are a US citizen or a dual citizen or a permanent resident, you would have additional employment options in addition to the ones listed here. So let me just run through the basics of a typical F1 student visa holder and how they could work during their program. First of all, we have on-campus employment, and this is considered automatically approved. It's authorized incident to status, which means you don't need any special permission from the immigration authorities in order to work on campus while you're in school. And the main limit is that you can work no more than 20 hours per week, which I've abbreviated here HPW. So up to 20 hours per week when school is in session. During official school breaks and holidays, the student is allowed to work full-time up to 40 hours per week. So most students would consider this to be a part-time job. And it may be something here in the School of Law. More often, it would be a job maybe in the university bookstore, dining services, other auxiliary services, perhaps another library on campus, a short-term project that a professor may need help with. So as long as it's considered on campus and the university is the one providing the employment, the student would be allowed to work up to 20 hours per week while school is in session. And the reason they have this limit is because the main focus of having a student visa is to study, right? You're here to earn a degree and focus on your studies, but at the same time, it's understood that work experience can be a valuable thing as well as a financial help to students. So that's why this type of work is allowed. If a student, an active student, wanted to work off campus, that would be a pretty rare situation because you do need special permission for that. So in other words, you have to ask US immigration for permission. And this would be in a case where there's some sudden emergency, some unforeseen economic catastrophe or necessity that's come up, maybe, I don't know, a huge medical bill or something's happened where the student's planned source of funding may have been interrupted. So it's something that they did not foresee before they came to study at the university. And in that case, if they're requesting to go off campus and be employed, they would need to apply for special permission. And that takes time. It can even take a few months for such an application to process. So that's why we don't see it very often. First of all, because our students have to turn in proof of financial certification to show that they can afford their program and will not need to go off campus, that there's no economic emergency at the present moment. So that's why it's fairly rare to see this. By far the most common type of employment is probably the last one listed here, which is called optional practical training, or OPT. And this is done typically by LLM students after they finish their degree. So that's why it's called post-degree. There is a type of OPT that students who are here for a longer period of time, more than 1 year, could request, but for LLM students, typically they're here for 1 year. So this is the type of employment that they would seek, post-degree OPT. And this gives the student up to 1 additional year here in the United States with their F1 student visa, and they can work basically anywhere in the country, whether it's here in San Diego or another part of California or even out of the state, as long as the job is related somehow to the legal field, the law or law studies. And it can be for multiple employers or it can be for just one employer. So this allows, again, up to 1 year of extra time in the US. And one way that we help students try to connect with potential employers is by participating in some interview fairs specifically designed for LLM students. And we participate both in an East Coast and a West Coast consortium of interview fairs. So NYU hosts one typically in the early spring that our students are invited to participate in. So you can submit bids basically for interviews from all of the international employers who are present at that interview, and they will select which students receive an interview chance. And same thing for Los Angeles. This is hosted by UCLA. We're part of a group of West Coast consortium schools that put together this event. And that's another opportunity for our students to get in-person interviews with employers from all over the place who are looking specifically for internationally trained LLM students. And we also have local opportunities and networking events and a career services office here on campus that can help you maximize those potential employment connections as well. But I just wanted to point out those two major interview fairs that we participate in. Okay, so that's a summary of the type of work that you can do or might do while you're here with your F1 student visa. And during the question and answer session, I'm happy to talk about things related more specifically to the F1 visa. I'm actually the school official who issues what's called a Form I-20 for our international students. So what that means is I work with the student to get them the supporting visa document that they need, which is called the Form I-20, and they would use that to apply for their student visa. So I kind of hold their hand through the whole process and walk them through. So it's hopefully a smooth process. Okay. Getting back to the LLM program itself, a lot of students ask, how long does it take to complete? And when can I be admitted? Is it only in the fall term? And here, actually, no, we offer two admission terms, either the spring semester, which starts in early January, or the fall semester starting in mid-August. So we are still kind of in the beginning period of our fall semester. We've got about 1 month under our belt right now, and we're already looking ahead to our entering spring class for spring 2024. And when you're here, regardless of whether you start in the spring or fall, you'll typically complete your LLM program in 1 year. There are occasions where a student may have a few leftover credits to finish. Let's say they didn't get all of their 25 credits done in 2 semesters, and they have, I don't know, 4 or 5 credits left to finish. They could potentially stretch their program into a 3rd semester, but normally the program is designed to be completed in 1 year. And if you're a student here with a visa, the F1 student visa, you need to make sure that you are enrolled full-time, at least during the first 2 semesters of your program. And full-time means taking at least 9 credits per semester. So at least 9 in the spring and 9 in the fall. We encourage you to take even more than that, so you finish your degree in 1 year. So a typical course load would be maybe 12 to 13 credits. Okay, summer is considered optional. You're not required to enroll in courses in the summer, but some students find that it's kind of a helpful bridge instead of having a gap where, let's say, they start in the spring and they only take 10 credits, and maybe they want to pick up 3 more credits in the summer. They can do that. Other students choose to use the summer for vacation, or maybe pursuing employment as a student visa holder on campus. So there are different options available for the summer, but spring and fall are the 2 official terms that you would need to be enrolled in. Okay. As far as timing with the deadlines for spring admits, we have a soft deadline of November 1st. So we have about a month and a half to go before our spring 2024 admission cycle closes. And if you're looking ahead to fall 2024, you would need to apply by June 1st of next year. So the fall term is our bigger entering class typically, but we do the same programming. We have orientation week, regardless of which semester that you may be joining us. Okay, so the deadlines noted are really soft deadlines or priority deadlines. If you're a little bit late, we can probably still accept and review your application. Just you won't have as much chance of getting a really nice scholarship if you wait too long. So scholarship funding tends to be the best towards the beginning of the cycle. So the earlier you apply, the more that you can maximize your chances for a nice merit scholarship, which I will talk about in just a moment. Okay, here on an application checklist, this will be very similar to what you find at other LLM programs and schools. First of all, the application itself. typically a couple pages long. And we ask that students submit this online with the Law School Admission Council, which is abbreviated LSAC. So you'll see in parentheses there the specific website for LLM applicants. That would be llm.lsac.org. And along with the application, you would be asked to submit a personal statement and a resume, at least one letter of recommendation. The system will let you submit up to 4, so anywhere between 1 to 4, but 1 is required. Your official law school transcript from wherever you went to school. So this is normally issued by your school in a sealed envelope and sent to LSAC, or it may be an e-transcript. That's another way that some schools do it, but it needs to come directly from the school. It can't come from the student directly or the applicant directly. And then the last but not least, most international applicants are required to submit a TOEFL or an IELTS score with their application. However, that is a waivable requirement. So a TOEFL waiver is available. For example, if you're a native English speaker or you have very good proficiency level, you can request that the TOEFL or IELTS be waived. Our suggested target scores for these exams would be a 93 for the TOEFL, or those taking the IELTS, it would be a 7.0 on the academic IELTS. One benefit of submitting a TOEFL or an IELTS, even if you feel you might not need it, is that it makes you eligible for language-based exam accommodations here at the law school. So for example, if we have a student coming from some country, English is not their first language, but they're pretty strong in English, and they're deciding whether to ask for a waiver or to submit a TOEFL score, I would recommend go ahead and take the TOEFL and submit the score. So not only will you have a good gauge of your proficiency level, but you'll get those exam accommodations here at USD. And what that means in real terms is extra time to complete your law school exams. And if you need it, the use of a translating dictionary. So a paper dictionary that's English, let's say English, French, French, English, or English, Spanish, or whatever the student's native language might be. So those are available to you if you've submitted a TOEFL or an IELTS score. And how much extra time do you get on the exams? Well, it's 20 minutes for every hour of exam time. So let's say your professor schedules a 3-hour exam, a quite common time frame. A student with exam accommodations would get 4 hours to complete the same exam because they got 20 extra minutes per hour. So 20 extra minutes for a 3-hour exam gives you an extra hour of time. So 4 hours would be allowed. And that can be really nice to have those accommodations in the stress of an exam, or you forget a word, or if you just want some extra time to put together your answers. That's why we encourage people, if you're in doubt, go ahead and submit a TOEFL or an IELTS score with the application. Okay. The last major subject I'd like to touch on are the scholarships and other sources of funding, because many students are understandably concerned about how they can finance their education here. And we know it's obviously not a cheap choice, maybe compared to some other programs, or a less expensive choice that you might have in your home country or region. And so we try to make it as economically painless as possible and to be as generous as possible with scholarship funding. And the main way we do that is to offer an LLM merit scholarship. And if you are a full-time applicant, which probably most, if not all of you would be, the good news is that you're automatically considered for the merit scholarship. You don't need to make any special or separate application. As soon as we receive your LLM application, that will trigger the automatic consideration for a merit scholarship. And what normally happens is the student, if they're accepted, would receive an email containing their acceptance letter, as well as a separate scholarship letter. Okay, so it happens all at one time. And our merit scholarship acts as a tuition discount. Tuition for the current academic year is set at $2,065, so 2065 per credit. So it's a per credit rate. And a tuition discount for a merit scholarship, it averages, from the high to low end. It'll vary by candidate, but I would say a good ballpark figure would be maybe a 25% discount, something like that, for the average applicant. Now, again, it may be lower or higher depending on the credentials of the applicant. So this is something you're automatically considered for. If you receive a merit scholarship, then you would get it dispersed in 2 equal parts, or 2 halves. So you get the first half in your first semester, and then the second half in the second semester. Okay, so that's our main source of financing here at the School of Law, but there are also other international student scholarships. One I've noted here from Postgrad Solutions, our hosts, they have an LLM study bursary. Gareth can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's still worth 500 pounds, British pounds, in terms of the value. And there are many other actually international scholarships that are not affiliated with USD that the student might be eligible for. So I have a link and resources that I can share with any applicants who are looking for those other sources of funding. Sometimes I'll get questions about student loans. In the old days, many international students wouldn't have this option because most loans require a co-signer, someone to help guarantee your payment. And it might also require a certain credit history or credit check score. But there are some other options nowadays. The most common one that we have heard of, again, not affiliated with USD, but it's called Empower. And Empower is nice because it is available specifically to international students, does not require a co-signer, does not require you to have an established credit history here in the US, and they offer low fixed interest rates and a wide variety of loans, anywhere from as low as $2,000 all the way up to $50,000. So we have a financial aid office here on campus that can help walk students through any of these processes here. Although I would be the main contact for LLM merit scholarships, okay? But I'm happy to share any other resources or more details with attendees who are looking at this or have more questions about funding. Okay, I think we are getting to the end. We are, so I'd like to open it up for questions, whether those are pre-submitted questions that Gareth has or questions that have just come up right now.
Robin, thank you. Thanks for your time. And it's always so fascinating to see how you can live and study with that backdrop behind you. It's a beautiful campus. It's something that a lot of the world could be very envious of. I can assure you that. So
certainly a nice place to work or to go to school. Typically, we've been ranked #1 most beautiful campus in the entire country. I guess this year they put us at #2, but last year we were #1. So,
well, if you could give me somewhere better, I can only presume that other place was also in California, also. But if it's not it's #1, I don't know where it is. Anyway, thank you for your time. Really informative. We're just going to run through some questions, as you know, some came in before, and I want to touch. First of all, I just want to set the record straight about the postgraduate bursary that we offer today, and it is an exclusive. It's just been increased from $500 to $2,000. So we have made that decision at Postgrad Solutions, who look after LLM study and postgrad.com, who are running this webinar. And yeah, so we will be sharing more details on that. Any students looking to find out more information about San Diego law or any other law schools that have been participating in this festival week will be eligible. So all those options are available on LLM study, not just our bursary options, but every other third-party bursary as well. Robin, to begin with then, if we can talk about what makes it such a great place to study. We've been through in the presentation about the affordability, about the location of it. But talk to me about the culture, because from what I understand, I've never been to San Diego, but looking on the outside into the inside, it looks as though you've got a wonderful mix of culture between where you guys are based in Mexican, Spanish, Latino kind of vibe. And then you've got a nice mix of that with the old traditional Americans. So it must make for a fascinating place to live and study at.
It is, yes. And as you noted, our architecture throughout campus is kind of the Spanish Catholic kind of Mediterranean feel to it. So that's what makes it, I think, so beautiful. And USD, as part of its mission, is about promoting what's called a culture of care. And that is in the mission statement of the university. And you'll often hear about this culture of care coming out in the interactions that students have, not just with each other, but with faculty and staff. When we have inspectors here, for example, from the American Bar Association, and they talk to students and ask them what they think about life here, we will often hear that they are surprised by how much the students like each other and support each other. That's not very common in some US law schools where the competitive drive can kind of overtake the humanity or kind of the soft skills that we like to see in our student body. So our students really seem to like each other. They collaborate. There's really good access to our faculty here since we are a smaller school. You know, most of the time you might find yourself in a class of 25 students or less, maybe unless you're taking bar exam subjects because you'll have a lot of JD students in there, but a lot of opportunities to connect with our faculty. They're very approachable. It's an accessible campus, it's walkable, and we're strategically situated, as you mentioned, near Mexico. So if you want to have an adventure and jump into another country while you're here, we're about 30 minutes from the border, from the international border, and our students can enjoy that. Oftentimes we'll have students who are from Mexico who agreed to host a group of students and kind of show them around. Actually, they just did that last weekend here with some of our LLM students. And we're also strategically situated on the Pacific Rim. So we have a lot of influence coming from Asia, Southeast Asia. So it's kind of the best of everything, in my opinion, where you have all of the resources of a big city, maybe like LA or the Bay Area, but it's a lot more relaxed pace and a friendly, inviting environment than you might find in some other large cities.
Excellent. And you mentioned that you're a relatively small law school in terms of some of the bigger players. What kind of links and connections do you have within the city and within the state as well, perhaps on a more national basis, that will enhance a student's career and be able to look at their resume in the future and go, right, that's why I went to San Diego.
Yeah. Well, if you are, let's say, into the tax, financial, or business and corporate side of law, we have all of the big four accounting firms here in San Diego, and a lot of our LLM alumni practice there, or we'll have events, mixers, where students are invited to attend and not only speak with potential employers, but just kind of get their foot in the door with this kind of small but loyal bar community that we have here in San Diego. We also have many networking events here on campus, professional related events, usually sponsored by student organizations that students are invited to attend, whether they're a panelist event or a career type of focused event. And we also have, we're a premier destination for national and international conferences here. So in addition, let's say, to New York and Washington, D.C., San Diego is really the top conference destination for professionals. And so many times it will be a law-related conference. And oftentimes we can get our students there for free. We will either cover the fee or find a way to get the students admitted for free so they can go to these professional conferences full of lawyers, people in the legal field. And again, another chance to make those connections.
So I thought you did a wonderful piece earlier in your presentation about what you're looking for in terms of when students apply and the application process. Can you explain and perhaps give your recommendation on what students should be looking to put in their personal statements and in their resumes to help them get the edge over another potential student that's looking to come to you guys?
Yeah, well, we read a lot of applications and a lot of personal statements. So I would say, first of all, a concise, maybe a one-page statement might be very much more effective than a four-page statement, but not necessarily. But we like to see that personal element really shine through. So something that wouldn't be obvious by looking at the student's resume. You know, what was it that sparked their interest in law? Was there some family member who practiced, or maybe a traumatic incident that the student knows of that really led to their interest in law or the justice system? So knowing a little bit about how that student gained that interest in law, and why are they looking at California and San Diego in particular? What is it that they're hoping to learn or gain from this experience here in Southern California? And what are their ultimate goals? That's really helpful to know. If they are looking to get more specialized education in a certain area of law, I would mention that in the personal statement. If they're thinking about sitting for the bar exam, I would definitely mention that as well, because that helps us plan ahead to know how to best serve this student in terms of planning their curriculum.
One of the questions that came in before, which at the time when I read it, I thought, well, that's a bit of a silly question, but it does make sense because, you know, all students are human beings and they all, like, you know, have that personal aspect to it. Does it matter where they're from? You know, does it, you know, are they going to be hindered if they're from, let's say, a less up and coming African country, or a country from East Asia, which typically doesn't get students of a higher caliber? That's just not true, is it? You know, ultimately, a human is a human, a student's a student.
Yes, and we're actually actively seeking a diverse student body. That's what makes us richer and makes us better, is bringing the broad spectrum of experiences and viewpoints. And of course, if let's say a student has a particular economic need, or they're coming from an underrepresented area, that is also nice to point out in the personal statement. So we're aware of that, because that definitely helps us. We take a holistic kind of organic approach to looking at the application. Not just what's on paper, but also, you know, this student's situation, their background, where they're coming from. And so we have actually student organizations that can help anybody from any background really feel welcome and feel valued here. So, you know, diversity and inclusion are very high priorities here at the School of Law.
And it's very important to point out, you mentioned inclusion, which is fantastic, because quite often those that have struggled the most and had perhaps tough upbringing and tough last 3 or 4 years are those that have got the mental strength to come through an LLM, come through the other side, travel the whole world, all the way around the world, encapsulate a different culture. And that is what the beauty of LLM study is. You know, it's anywhere around the world. Anyone looking to study any kind of LLM, there's very different varieties. And I couldn't think of anywhere better than San Diego. What a beautiful place. Robin, thank you very much. Thanks for your insight. There's been a great session. There's been a few more questions coming, but they've all been related to what you've covered in the presentation. So anyone else has any questions, we will reach out to you. Will have your details very shortly, and we'll reach out to you separately. So thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. And Robin, a huge thank you to yourself as well. Thank you.